For decades, the Formula One Belgian Grand Prix has been held at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, a twisting, undulating 7-kilometer motorsports icon. But it hasn't been there forever, and in fact, the Belgian Grand Prix was held 10 times at a more obscure racetrack, Circuit Zolder. This 4-kilometer, 10-turn circuit doesn't quite have the grandeur of Spa, but it's still an excellent circuit, especially when you pack it full of over 50 Spec Racer Fords for another round in the 42 Stitches Weekend Warrior Championship. This afternoon, the next 40-minute round from Circuit Zolder right here on SYM TV. Welcome this afternoon, a Sunday afternoon matinee right here on SYM TV for the 6th round of the 2020 championship. Finian, last week we took on Donington National Park. That was out in the UK, but this time a trip across some border lines into another part of Europe, this time in Belgium for the next round of the SRF Weekend Warriors.
Yeah, absolutely. Really looking forward to seeing these guys on track yet again. These guys have done a fantastic job this season when it's come to the racing. It's been incredibly exciting to watch. Can't wait to see them at a track like Zolder. And it's gonna, especially the way the track is set up, it's gonna lead for a lot of drafting and especially a lot of tight chicanes. A lot of guys diving deep on the brakes and making passes on one another. So it's gonna be a ton of fun to watch.
We've got Steve Ray joining us here again from the sidelines this afternoon. Steve, welcome back to the SYM TV booth. We got to watch an incredible race last week, but this time, this racetrack is not one that a lot of people are familiar with. It's not super popular in the iRacing service, but it definitely puts on a pretty good show.
Yeah, it's not as popular there, and I think the Warriors have only been there once about 3 years ago, so it will give the guys a challenge today.
Of course, the SRF Weekend Warriors is brought to you by 42 Stitches. Whether it's one piece for that special gift or 1,000 to make your organization stand out, 42 Stitches has you covered. Custom embroidery and heat transfer on a wide variety of items, shirts, hats, jackets, or even flame retardant applications where safety is a concern. You can check them out at 42stitches.com or shoot them an email to info@42stitches.com to get your project started. So with qualifying underway here, guys, less than 4.5 minutes to go. Again, my name is Kyle Heyer, joined by Finian DeCuna and Steve Ray for this afternoon's event. A beautiful day here in Belgium. Of course, the population just over 30,000 people, but a track temp 99 degrees. Finian, it's a little bit warm, a little bit warmer than it was last week at Donington, but still pretty drivable.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys are gonna probably want it to be as cool as possible here, getting back on the power out of some of these corners, especially out of the tight chicanes too. You're gonna want as much grip as possible. Make sure you don't have this thing come around on you, and especially also we talk about constantly the off throttle oversteer that can definitely catch you out if you're not paying attention.
So let's go through the point situation. Of course, we got two categories, Spec 1 and Spec 2. Take me through where we've been, because of course Rodrigo Duran in the number 10 car has had some pretty good starts, but you have to look to the drivers that have been pretty much dominating the event so far. David Gaspers in the number 1 and Maurizio Naselli. Those two drivers have really been the class of the field so far this season.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been constantly trading blows with one another throughout the season. We expect to see much of the same again. However, some other drivers, such as Rafael Berbagal, he is really strong and really good when it comes to pace in that 23 machine. Currently sitting in second place at the moment. We expect to see him near the top of the front after he's made a few starts in recent weeks.
And then the Spec 2 class, that's the drivers with the numbers that are greater than 200. And you look at Greg Stefani, Stefani in the 750, who's been pretty good lately, Finian. And as it stands, I think he walked out either chasing or just ahead of his championship competitors in Spec 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was really just a bad week from, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, the driver that he ended up passing. I think Mayer was...
Yeah, Simon Mayer.
Simon Mayer.
Simon Mayer,
yes.
There we go. Yeah, after he had a really bad week at Donington after being caught up in an incident.
So taking a look at qualifying right now, John Madden in the number 8 is currently the best driver on the racetrack. You see him track out at turn number 1. Have a look here at this circuit because it's a pretty fast track in several places, but a couple chicanes to slow you down here, Finian.
Yeah, and it's going to be coming to play quite a bit. I think we have a chance of seeing a lot of incidents, especially in the opening laps. The guys are being a little bit too greedy and not careful enough. Heavy braking zones all scattered across the track. There's 3 separate chicanes you guys got to navigate, and you can bet that a lot of drivers are going to take advantage, heading down there to make some moves.
The first chicane, of course, is the Klein chicane here. A quick left-right combination. Big curbs to watch out for. You see one car just take a big jump. You see everyone struggling here. Now they got the camera on it. See John Madden get through cleanly. This is not to the second chicane. This is the Villeneuve chicane. And this one is a lot tighter, but it's a very important corner to get right if you want to carry a lot of speed here.
Yeah, you also have to be very careful too. You see a lot of the guys running pretty much straight over the chicane right there on the exit of that chicane. These guys running over, you can see the anti-cut curves there, and even in the previous part too, just running over the curbs in general. You have to be careful. You can easily get a cut track if you're taking just a little bit too much out, and that can easily ruin your lap.
And Steve, there's also, you see the 273 right ahead here, on Richard Franco's car. The amount of damage those curbs can do to the underside or the nose of the car. There are a few places on this racetrack where cutting the corners will gain you time, but a few places where it's definitely can hurt you as well. You see right here, this is the exit of turn number 2. Have a look at these curbs on track out. Those are really damaging to the suspension and something you want to stay off of.
Yeah, that can to damage the front end, a little bit of the body work, and that's going to slow them down on the straightaways too.
Looking from up above here, 57 seconds left in qualifying, and Rafael Berbagal in the 223 car is currently the pole sitter with a 142.838, 3.5 tenths out in front of Jonathan Madden. Then Maurizio Naselli in the 44. David Gaspers, though, all the way back in 25th. And this is a bit concerning here, Finn. If he doesn't lay down a better lap, he's going to come on through that time. A 143.2, and all my concerns just went away. Jumps to 4th.
Yeah, and he needs to get some good points up on Naselli, because he's currently sitting 35 points back from Naselli, and that's really just due to the fact that he hasn't been in the last 2 weeks he's finished fourth, which again aren't terrible when your championship competitors finishing on the podium every single week of the first 5 weeks of this season. He needs to start stepping up his game where he can, because Naselli is doing a fantastic job up in front.
Of course, if you want to watch live timing and scoring, sorry to cut you off there, Steve, but if you want to check out live timing and scoring, you can do so at simtvbroadcasting.com/timing and follow along in real time to make sure that you're missing none of the action here. Of course, we're not focusing on any of the action. You can watch it yourself, or at least watch the timing and scoring screen, Steve. Check that out right there at the link below. So, as we have qualifying concluding here, Steve, you had something to say about Gaspers?
No, Gaspers and Naselli. Naselli's got 5 races in a row with 0 incidents, which gives you a 5-point bonus each week. So that's also getting a jump on Gaspers more.
I wanted to take a look here at the one car of David Gaspers as he came off into, I believe this is down here in one of the chicanes. I think it's the Villeneuve chicane. Watch the tires here on the right side as we go into this corner. And there are tracks where you can use the curbing on the apex. This is one that I would maybe stay away from. Look at the amount of shock and force that goes into that. Very easy to bend the components on this car. I'd be cautious about doing that every single lap.
Yeah, you also have to consider too, you know, when you talk about curbs, it's really a lot of the time depends on the angle you attack the curbs. You hit it the wrong angle, it bounce the car on the wrong way, and you can end up going sideways. And we talk about off-throttle oversteer in this car, catching guys out, especially over the curbs. If you're not careful, you can easily loop it around, especially in the first chicane that these guys approach in the lap. You can easily get yourself an incident if you're not being careful and go there just a little bit too quickly.
Another thing to mention is that we're actually running the alternate layout here at Zolder, and what does that mean? Well, you've got a very fast entry to this corner. You're not taking the very tight Grand Prix line. That's going to make this whole last sector a lot faster, and carrying speed going to be so important. And I would say if you're running up towards the front, I'd much rather be in second place coming to the checkers than the lead, because you can use that slipstream onto the front stretch and maybe grab a chance at grabbing the win this afternoon. So with 59 seconds left in qualifying, Berbagal still hangs on. Gaspers is going to advance all the way up to second with a 142.860. Jonathan Madden in third, Maurizio Naselli back in fourth, Rodrigo Duran in fifth, Hugh Haycox, Felix Simoes, Adrian Jimenez Vargas, Daniel Sadro, and Angus Waddell going to round out your top 10 here in qualifying.
Yeah, Gaspers to 22 thousandths of a second off of Berbagal in qualifying. That is impressively close.
Include things here a little bit. The weather, a little bit on the warm side, at least in terms of the track surface temperature. And this is not a racetrack that is known for being super grippy. And I think in faster cars, this place is actually quite treacherous because the curbs are sharp. There's a lot of elevation on the back half of the circuit towards turn 5, 6, and 7, where you can really launch the car up in the air on corner exit with a lot of power. Not going to be a big issue today. These cars aren't rocket ships in a straight line, but they're going to be bunched up pretty tight. And I think the first sector here is pretty forgiving, all things considered, with the first turn being a relatively gentle left-hander, then another right-hander into turn number 2. We should have the field spread out nicely enough. As we head down to the racetrack, we'll have one last look at the weather. Track temp's going to cool off just slightly. No, it's not. 100 degrees for a start. This is in Fahrenheit, of course. It's for the start of our 6th round of the season. Let's head down to the racetrack here, Finn. Let's roll through our starting lineup. On the front row this evening, it's going to be Rafael Berbagal in the 23 car and David Gaspers in the 1. He'll roll off in second.
And moving on back to row number 2 is going to be John Madden starting in 3rd in the 8 machine. Maurice Unicelli going to be starting in 4th in the 44 car.
Back in row number 3, starting 5th will be Rodrigo Duran in the number 10, and Hugh Haycock starts 6th in the 34.
Then behind him, last week's winner, Felix Timo, is going to be starting in 7th place. Adrian Vargas is going to be starting in 8th in 65.
Back in row number 5, starting in 9th, it's going to be Daniel Sadro in the number 51. Angus Waddell in the 53 starts 10th.
Back in 11 is going to be Michael Jovic lined up in the 142. Foreign Arabian going to be starting in 12th.
Starting in 13th place tonight, going to be Austin Winter in the 033, and Gorka Tarat in the 14th place one.
Ian Haycock's going to be lined up in the 15th position in the 35 car. In the 20 car next to him is going to be Tim Doramalan in 16th.
We're going to let the rest of the scroll on the bottom of the screen here as we get ready for the pace lap around here. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the backside of the course because we didn't really get a chance to look at a whole lot of the facility. It gets really narrow back here, Finian, and once we get single filed out, I don't think it'll be too bad, but the track gets narrow and it gets pretty fast back here as well. So there are passing opportunities, but definitely the front straightaway, that whole first sector is a lot wider compared to the back half.
Yeah, especially coming out of turn 7, you come through a pretty fast corner, up and then up through a hill. You can see in the back heading down to another braking zone down into, I believe that is turn 8. Indeed it is. So that's another big braking zone for these guys. In a high-speed section in the back part of the track, you want to be careful because if you just swing out wide, you might end up getting yourself into someone else, and that could easily ruin your race early.
And at time of qualifying, 52 cars on the grid. Steve, we've had a really good car count all races this season, and at a track that's typically not too popular, you're going to be pretty happy with the amount of participation we've been getting in this series since this season began.
Yeah, I really am. It's we've maxed out the house like on previous weeks. This week, not being a popular track as it is, it's still, we got a great turnout. It surprised even myself. So just awesome group to be with.
We head through turn number 1 and into turn 2. The track, there's the pit out, which this could be a discussion once we've got pit stops happening. If that's going to be an issue, come sort of right back onto the racing line through turn number 2. See if that affects anybody. Then through turn 3, and then over to turn 4, a very quick right-hander that leads you down towards the Klein chicane. The last couple rows of drivers on the bottom, drivers in the 200s and above. The Spec 2 cars, everybody 200 and below, are the Spec 1 cars. So 2 different championships happening, 2 different race winners at the end of it all. Now Richard Franco with the damage in qualifying. He will roll off in 50th place tonight. Got a lot of work to do. Starting from the back. Last couple rows scroll on through before we have a look here. One last time, again, if you want to follow along live, you can do so. SYMTVBroadcasting.com/time. You also get a chance to see our entire schedule, which has got all sorts of stuff coming up here in the coming weeks. So here you're watching again next Saturday, our Brazilian Grand Prix for Formula I's Championship. That'll be right here on SYM TV. Be headed to Interlagos. That'll be 12 o'clock noon next Saturday, Finian, for that one.
Yeah, pretty much so. 11:20, I guess, is more accurate. 11:20 a.m. for Eastern Standard Time.
Or kind of rear wheel steered through that corner. Kind of drifted.
You missed it in the Klein chicane. You just mounted over the curbs.
I like that. Pace car driver getting rowdy out there on the curving. So 40 minutes here. We're going to see a bunch of pit stops about midway through the race. That was a lot of strategy involved last week for our race winners to try to negotiate around each other because their pace was so similar. As we head down into turn number 8, we're going to re-rack this field and stack them up. Turn them loose for 40 minutes, round number 6 of the championship. And next week, we'll be headed to the tight confines of Lime Rock Park, Lime Rock, Connecticut. Then all the way to the Australian continent. And a bit of a stack up there, the 286, kind of piled up with the 94, so a little bit of trouble there. Up out front, as the field works their way through the final corner, coming to the green flag here in just a moment. David Gasper's on the outside of the front row. Green flag flies, and we're racing in the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warrior Championship, brought to you by 42 Stitches, and 40 minutes is on the clock as we run down into turn number 1. Double line 3 wide of the midfield as we head down into the corner. It looks like for now, Berbagal is clear. Here comes the 8 of Jonathan Madden on the outside, trying to grab a spot away while he can.
And can't quite get it done down at turn 1. He's going to have to settle in behind Gaspers, who will get clear of that position. First few row drivers getting single file out for the most part. I think these guys definitely going to need to get somewhat single file out. By we get to the chicane, you see some incidents occur in turn 1.
Yeah, trouble in the back. That was Darren Kuhn in the 272. I think he's the one that had the issue there. Thomas Render's also involved, it looks like, as we head now towards the Klein chicane. Gasper's all over the back of the 23 of Berbigal, swinging left, swinging right. He's going to stay in line for now as they head through the chicane on lap number 1.
You got to be careful nice and early. Remember, you got a tire going, a big chunk of chicane taken out by the 65. He goes spinning in front of the field. That's Vargas.
Oh, that's a big mess. The 56 also involved. And Vargas going to be right stuck in the middle of the racetrack. Don't move or go anywhere. Another car turned around as everyone scatters. Field did a pretty good job of missing that, but of course that was just too much curb on the opening lap and big issues there as we head to the Villeneuve chicane. Single filed out, double wide a little bit deeper in the field, but all things considered, I think we only tore up 2 or 3 cars. Vargas got the worst of it. The other car was the 56, I believe, was involved in that, but he's gotten back rolling. That was Elson.
For the most part, it looks like the rest of the lap went without any issue. I'm actually surprised. Great heads-up driving by everyone in the field to not make that incident even worse.
It's hard to see back there as you come out of that chicane, especially when so many cars are bunched up together, Steve. But opening lap, I think for the most part, we survived. How'd that look from your end?
Yeah, it looked pretty good. We've had a great first lap all season, and the guys had some issues this time, but still overall a pretty good lap.
Scott Fox in the 86, not a driver I remember seeing previously, but he's gained 4 spots already in the opening lap. Steven Elson's going to hit pit lane to repair that car. Right behind Scott Fox, or I should say right in front of him, is the 750 Greg Stefani, who won in Spec 2 last week and has been having a pretty okay night so far. They stayed out of trouble, and the great-looking livery on that car doesn't have a scratch on it just yet. Trouble in front of him, Dominique Bureau at the exit of turn number 2. More trouble now, and that's Scott Fox in the 86 collected.
He goes, and I think he's just trying to get that car finally back straight, and there he goes off and away.
I want to go back and have a look here at exactly what caused that incident. Like, everything was pretty calm, and I think there was a bit of contact maybe. See the 86, there was a car spinning already in front, and he gets hit from behind. That's what turns him around, so... There's a chain reaction accident there as we jump back out front. Find Berbigal hanging on. Gasper's trying to track him down with Jonathan Madden and Rodrigo Duran not too far back. And Maurizio Naselli, the points leader, after his win last week, the second of the season, sits just behind the leaders.
Yeah, he's been doing a great job again, as Steve pointed out earlier. In the pre-race, he still has not gotten a single incident on track this season. I'm still, every time I say it, I'm still amazed of how he's been able to do that, because you always get 1 and 2 by this point, but 0 for him. He's been raking in the bonus points with that 25 to his name, just getting those 0 incident bonuses.
Big run here for Gaspers. Steve, is there any incentive for Gaspers to go out there and lead laps, or would you rather stay in behind and maybe save some fuel?
Well, Gaspers is starting to get desperate for points, I think, and there is a bonus for the most laps lead, so that could be in his mind too.
In turn number 2 now, a pretty awkward entry to this corner. It's pretty tricky to find where the apex is because it's sort of early. I think turn 2 is kind of more than one corner, kind of packed into one complex, Finian, so it's a little tricky as he's going to look to the left, a bit of a push to the back of Berbigal as they head into 4.
Yeah, a lot of these corners flow into each other very nicely, and if you mess up one section, you're going to start hurting in the next. As I see Madden get a pretty good run on Gaspers, he actually hits the brakes to back off. He's going to play a little bit patient here, as is the rest of these guys into the chicane.
Being pretty cautious through here. Again, we've seen what can go wrong. You see the 34 of Hugh Haycox. He's going to loop it, and again, it's just being too aggressive. These cars, the suspension isn't quite soft enough to accept that abuse over those curbs, and you just have to really respect it here. And this is one of those tracks where if you're in a very soft car, if you're in any kind of stock car or bigger GT car, you can kind of use some curb here, and these cars I would stay far away.
He caught air similar to what we saw in the incident on lap 1. So Haycock's going to fall all the way back. Hugh Haycock's going to fall all the way back to 16th place.
Bill Orza in the 99, we saw him running quite well in the SCCA Esports Super Tour earlier this year, right behind the 308 of Simon Mayer, who's already got a ton of damage on that 308. It has just been a miserable couple of weeks for this young man.
Yeah, indeed it has. I mean, we definitely saw that Donington was pretty bad for him. Even Summit Point didn't go well. He finished 24th there as well. So he was kind of hoping to get a better finish. He's running 23rd. I'm sure he doesn't want to finish 24th a third week in a row.
Miro Razki right behind in the 205. Kenneth Batley just beyond with Jeff Fritzscher in the 702 back in 27th as we jump back up to the top spot. About 0.4 of a second separating the top three. So we're going to keep our eyes up here for now. And we're going to jump back to Hugh Haycox for a moment. The 142 of Michael Doback runs a little bit wide on the exit. That's green painted concrete. Is that fair game out there? I'm pretty sure it is for the most part around here.
Yeah, I think it is, but we're talking about there's some green concrete, and if you notice, there was some pretty nasty anti-cut curves on the outside of it. So, I mean, if it's green concrete, I mean, you can feel free to use it, but there are some anti-cut curves on the outside of some of them, and you want to stay as far away from them as possible.
Slot in behind 142. The Forza Alex sticker on the back of that car, of course. Thinking about Alex Zanardi after his accident in Italy. Last I heard, still serious condition for Zanardi, but he's still around, which is a good thing. I mean, that's a lot for one person to take, and I'm hoping to see him make a full recovery. Doback right now in 15th place. He's got, looks like he's dropped 4 spots. Austin Winter in the 033. Either he just had a slowdown or a big issue, because he's got Tim van der Molen all over his rear bumper as they head through 7.
No, he definitely made a mistake. He was actually into the Villeneuve chicane. He went off. He was following Felix Simos and just went in too hot to Villeneuve and cut the corner.
Comes 41 up the inside, and Florence Arabian behind him in the 042. Trying to get strung back out by the time they hit the alternate chicane. Change for the lead up front. Gaspers has gotten through Berbagal and going to try to put a distance between him and the 23. So finishing about Maurizio Naselli, he's back in 5th. Is there any rush to get up there past these 3 cars between him and the race leader?
No, I don't think so. Again, I would imagine he's continued to have 0 incidents. If he's been able to keep that up in this race so far, I mean, might as well just keep it up, get 5 bonus points to your name. And he typically finds his way up near the front when the race ends. We've seen in the last few weeks, we've seen some incidents occur somewhere inside the top 5 middle towards the end of the race, and he just kind of sneaks up and takes those spots that drivers end up dropping out of. So I think he's just going to do what he's done before, just lay back, let these guys race in, and be back there in the last 10 minutes.
Steve, is that really a way that you could win a championship? I mean, just kind of run up inside the top 5 and just avoid running off the racetrack? Because it seems like it's working out for Naselli. I know he's won a couple races, but keeping the car clean is almost as important as getting race wins at this point in the season.
Yeah, we haven't had a season like that yet. Gaspers has typically kind of run away with our championship, but Naselli's being really smart about it, and the 0 incidents, and he's always up there on the podium or right there, so he keeps doing that consistently and could very well do it.
The battle back here for 10th. Austin Winter is the driver at the front of that group, then Mitch Weatherly in between. Couple battles spaced throughout the racetrack. We're about 10 minutes into this race. Pit stop strategy for the front runners, Finney. Do you think running the tank out, or are you just going to kind of hit with the leaders? What's the strategy today, do you think?
I think considering how important the draft is, considering how much straightaway there is on this track, I think you're going to want to stay with the leaders. I think it's going to help you out quite a bit. And it depends really if you're able to have a lot of pace on your own. You see Bob Kearney spawn off, and whoa, and a dangerous rejoin almost takes out another driver. But you're definitely going to, I think, want to stick around with the group you're running with.
Have a look here at what happened to the 206. He got through the first of the 2 chicanes. The Klein chicane heads down to Villeneuve, and I think is going to have maybe too much curb, or maybe get stacked up behind this other group of cars. And a little bit hot. Oh, the 540 had a mistake, and that's what caused Kern to kind of swerve to the right. And then when he rejoins here, I think he thinks the track is clear. And right here, just thinks he can get across the island, and he does, but the 204 had a jam on the brakes. That was Matt Filipovich in the 204 that had to come to almost a complete stop, but he did a good job avoiding that collision. 3rd place, make that 4th. Maurizio Naselli goes on through, and Rodrigo Duran has looped it down. And I think this is turn number, where is this, turn 1?
No, this is the first chicane.
Oh, first chicane. We got all the way around there pretty quick. Let's have a look. Was there a touch, maybe? Duran in the 10 car. Oh, wow. Again, another big curb mount. That's been a trouble spot so far.
Yeah, just missed his line on after entry. Just went tried to take too much curb and just went flying over him. We've seen time and time again that happen.
On C. Lin, the 30 car, right behind the 82, the bright purple and green 82 car, Zorek. It's a car that's pretty easy to spot, isn't it? It's like someone had a field day with Microsoft Paint.
Or someone just learning how to use Microsoft Paint.
That too. I'll tell you, Rafael Berbagal has not dropped off the tailpipes of Gaspers as they head through turn number 1. He's keeping them honest here and still within the slipstream. And Steve, you know as well as anybody that as long as you're in the tow, you're in a pretty good spot. As Rodrigo Duran just hit pit lane, probably to fix that car. And can he make it to the end from here, Steve, do you think?
Said we usually have about 10 minutes it kicks you into the fuel window, so he is like right on the edge.
To make it to the end, that was an awful convenient time to come to pit road. Third place, Jonathan Madden, and he started in third, so he's been exactly where he was. Selly, of course, behind race winner from last week at Donington.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about too. We just saw Duran make a mistake. You just easily picked up one spot and didn't have to work for it.
And Sadro in the 51 chasing Ian Haycox. Of course, Hugh had the big loop around earlier in the Klein chicane, but Ian up to 7th in the 35 car after starting back in 15th, so a pretty good climb, 8 spots for the 35.
And Dan Sadro's typically been our safe driver award every season. He's one of the best, but this season, Naselli's really showing it to him.
How's Sadro doing with the incident so far out of here? Can we have a competition here between these two? Where are we at?
Let's see, where are we at? 14 for Sadro.
Wow.
I'm not sure who's the next close. I don't think there's really anyone that started every race that is under 10.
Hugh Haycox in the 34, I think, just had another issue, another loop. It's locked the tires up. No damage this time, but struggling a little bit with the curbing this afternoon. A pretty tricky thing to get used to. Look at how fast we're slinging through this final chicane. For the race lead, though, here comes Berbagal up the inside. Drag race to turn number 2. Side by side. Do they touch there slightly as Gaspers muscles his way back, and here comes Madden up the inside for second.
Yeah, and he forced Berbergold out. There was some contact there, and he's going to muscle his way past into first place, but not for long. Berbergold looking back up the inside here as we head to turn 4.
He's got overlap now as they head into 4. Hugging the inside lane. The next turn's going to be a left-hander, but Gaspers is off in the gravel traps. Here comes the 8 of Madden, going to swing back to the left. Maybe give the 1 car a push as they head down towards the Klein chicane.
Yeah, he gave him a big shove. That's why Gaspers gained the momentum and now deep into the chicane. Got to make sure you navigate it properly. Gaspers takes a huge chunk out. Oh, gets hit from Berbergal in behind and knocks him a little bit loose.
Yeah, something tells me the gloves are off right now. The elbows are out. 1, 2, 3. There is a sheet over the top of them here. And they're going to touch again into the braking zone. This time Madden on the right, and Gaspers going to have to give that up as Madden goes on through. And here comes Naselli into the fight. 4 cars racing for the top spot.
Yeah, Berger's still not done. He's angry under the way he's looking left, right, and left again on Gaspers, trying to find a way on through. Looks like he's going to settle in behind him for now. But Madden takes the lead as everything was kicking off there for that half a lap.
Yeah, you can definitely tell they're driving a little angry. And that's something, Steve, when you're racing this close for this long, and someone does something you don't like, and then you muscle them back a little bit, then they muscle you back, and you said, hey, I thought I had the upper hand there. You got me first, and then you start going back and forth to the point where you're just damaging your fiberglass at that point.
Yeah, sometimes you get to that point, and you just got to take a breath and get your pit stop or do something and reset.
Into turn number 1, here comes Gaspers back up the inside. Madden does not defend. He's going to try to swing the long way around here as they get to the exit of the corner, and Berbergal's going to maybe try to sneak up the inside car, coming back onto the racetrack on the pit out line, and that's another discussion we're going to have once more pit stops are happening. How much of a distraction is that going to be for drivers heading through turn 2?
It's going to be a big distraction, even more so than being a distraction. It could end up taking out some drivers if you're not paying attention who's coming out of the pits. As you see, still battling up for second place. Berger's not letting this pass. He wants to get past Gaspers, and he wants to get past now.
Now they're going to drive down to the Klein chicane, and looks like Gaspers is going to have the preferred line here, but Berbergal can pull even with him into the braking zone. He will not. Gaspers goes through hard on the brakes through the chicane. In Madden, Gaspers, Berbergal, Naselli, and Waddell in the 53. He started in 10th. And here comes the 23 back up the inside now. Great scrap for second.
Yeah, a long left turn leading up to the chicane. Berger's going to have the advantage here, but Gasper's going to get on the brakes just a little bit later. Locks up as well and aggressively keeps Berger's in behind. Now they're going to lose a little bit of time to Madden up ahead.
Is that Obama on the nose of the 23? I can't tell.
No, it isn't. I'm not sure who it is. It's looks like a dude's pump picture. I'm not sure if that's
He's
him
gonna
or
stop
if that's
tailgating. I
someone else.
can't see what's on the nose of that car. He's following Gasper's too closely. Looks like Obama. Well, that way, if he hits Gasper's, you can go, thanks, Obama.
Yeah, there it is. But one thing I wanted to point out, too, with the way these guys have been battling, is actually allowed Angus Waddell and Felix Simoes in behind to make up some time last lap through. Waddell made up 2 seconds from the guys out ahead battling. I'm sure he made up another second or so from them battling again.
Waddell's had a pretty good race, up 5 spots, Steve.
Yeah, we've got to talk incidents too. It seems like everybody's racking up a few incidents for this race. You get to 12 incidents, and you're going to have a pit road drive-through.
Yeah, Madden just actually went out wide in turn 1, got a little bit of sand and dragged it back on the track. Looks like he's okay, though. But again, picking up those incidents, as you're saying.
Well, that's my concern, is that Gasper's has had at least 4. You have to imagine the damage that did that to the right side of the car had to be a 4X. It might not be, but yeah, no, that's definitely a 1. So, you rack up those incidents and you have to hit pit lane for a drive-through. That's going to be a topic of discussion, because this racetrack really fosters side-by-side racing, especially through the front half of the racetrack, at least. So, got to be cautious not to run into each other.
Now, does Gaspers try to fight with Madden here and take the lead back? Is he going to sit patiently in behind the 8 for the rest of this run?
You might as well save fuel. It seemed like Madden really wanted the lead, so I don't think there's a lot of incentive to be out front if the guy behind you is going to run into you to get the spot. Might as well give it to him, let him have it for a little while. But Gasper's going to have to work overtime. Nasali has been cautiously waiting in 4th place, just staying out of trouble. As here comes Gasper's now. Well, scrap that strategy. He's going to go back for the race lead.
You can't quite clear, though, off of turn 8, and now down the straightaway they go. Looks like Madden's got a little bit of advantage here. Now, this chicane that they're heading up here is fast and it's tight. Someone's got to give.
Looks like Gasper's going to have to sling back in line. Here comes Burbigal, going to head straight to pit lane. I love this strategy. They're just losing time, running about a second off the pace of the drivers behind. So Burbigal could be a race-winning strategy if he can get himself out in front as the leaders go on through to start another lap. I've been informed that the driver on the nose of that car, help me with the name, Burbigal's car, is Carlton from Fresh Prince, is who I was told it was. So thank you to Emily for telling us that. Still looks like Obama. All right, so with the leaders battling, you see a little bit of dust getting thrown up here. Gasper's still in behind. Burbigal's in pit lane getting service. A lot of pit stops have begun to happen towards the tail of the field. Probably about a dozen cars have come on in. And this is going to bring up the discussion about the exit of pit lane. You see how the cars track out at turn number 1. The line sort of takes you off out of the way, but then right here, it's going to pinch the field down. And the drivers coming off of pit lane and the drivers apexing the corner are all going to converge. And it's going to get really, really busy down there in about a lap.
Yeah, you're going to have to start paying attention. It's a bit hard to see, but you can kind of, as you're heading off into turn 1, you can see the guys that are going to start merging back on the track. So you're going to want to have to start keeping your eye just a little bit to the right of the track in turns 1 and 2 to kind of keep an eye on who's coming out and if they're going to be on the racing line where you're going to end up.
A handful of Spec 2 cars have hit pit lane already, but the current leader, Spec 2, I believe, is still going to be Greg Stefani in the 750 back in 13th. Seems like he's been stuck in 13th most of the season. That seems to be his favorite spot. Miro Razki in 2nd right now in Spec 2, and Jeff Jacobson back in 3rd in Spec 2. Then Ryan Bell, Paul Jackson, and Jeff Fritcher back in 23rd overall.
Yeah, and first Stefani finished 11th and 14th the last 2 weeks, so pretty much he's right around where he's been running this season so far.
He's doing a good job. He started all the way back in 23rd, and that was the first Spec 2 driver going, so he's doing a good job.
In behind for 4th place, Felix Simos and Angus Waddell fighting it out.
Comes a 53 on the outside to try to hang on to this spot, but Somoza's going to clear him in the 31. And Waddell, I'm hearing, didn't turn a single lap all week until the qualifying session. Then to run 10th, and now to be 5th, that's a pretty good day for Waddell so far.
Yeah, it is really good, and he's not too terribly far from the leaders. I think the little fighting you have in Simos is kind of lost him some time, but he also got a little bit of lap traffic to navigate as well, and I think that's actually why Berbagal pit too, now that I think about it. We are approaching some lap traffic. I think he saw that up ahead, decided to get out of it and get some clean track to work with.
Look who's here that we didn't know was here. Larry McLeod in the 33. I did not know he was even in this race. And he crept in here and snuck under our noses, but he's running right now in 27th at the pit stop. Looked like he had some damage on that car, but well, hi Larry, as he rolls back out onto the racetrack. We'll see him a little bit later as we go back to the top spot, now into lap traffic for the top spot driver, Jonathan Madden. More laps led for each of these drivers now. We'll see if they're going to peel off to hit pit lane anytime soon. No, they're going to head through the chicane again. Mitch Weatherly looped around at the exit at turn number 8. What happened to the 4 car here as he came down into the corner? If there was help, he had a couple drivers around him. I think it's Florence Arabian in behind him and into the braking zone. Was there a touch? I think he's just going to get in here a little bit hot, locked up. Got a touch from Austin Winter and sent him around. He was running up as high as 10th. Dan Sadro into pit lane. He's going to bring Ian Haycox with him. Those 2 drivers will hit to pit lane. So now we've got pretty much a half and half split. Top half of the field still has to make their pit stop. And you have to think about where Rafael Berbagal is, and I'm really curious to see what his lap times will be as he comes across the finish line. A 1:43.405. That's a pretty decent lap, but now that Berbagal dropped out of that lead group, leaders are running in the low 43s now. They've sort of gotten rid of that that pace that was slowing them down so much earlier. So I'm not sure that Berbagal's early pit stop was really going to help him all that much.
Yeah, it's gonna, I think, come down to, is he just gonna be able to get past him? I'm trying to monitor the gap. So he spent 42 seconds on pit road. He's running pretty much 42 seconds behind these guys. So more or less, he should be spat out right around with them.
I'm going to come down to the pit entry and pit exit. And Steve, here there's a pretty lengthy pit exit road. Is that a challenging thing for drivers to kind of hold back at pit exit, or? I mean, how much are you willing to push on the exit of these pit lanes that kind of take you through a winding little complex?
Oh, you get it. Excited. You're trying to push it just as much as you can in a long road. It's easy to just step over that boundary a little bit, then you got to come back in again.
And speaking of coming in, Gasper's into pit road, so we'll see now. This is going to be interesting to see where he comes out in comparison to Rafael Berbagal. It's currently running in 15th.
Watch his pit stop here as he rolls down the pit lane into his box and gonna fuel up the car. And you think back to last week, the pit strategy differed quite a bit by the race leaders, and it ended up affecting how the race played out. Undercuts, overcuts, everything in between. So Gaspers will pull into his box. 30 seconds already expired on the clock, and where is Berbagal? He is coming down the back straightaway through the final chicane now, as Gaspers is going to pull away here shortly. 42 seconds, 42.8, and here comes Berbagal. Oh, I think the one is going to have him here by a little bit. Maybe not.
To see, it's a pretty awkward pit exit. You have to go out way wide and then come back onto the track, and looks like you were right. He's going to come out just by a little bit.
Just by a couple car lengths, that'll bring Berbagal right back into the group. The car sandwiched in between them is the 86. That car is Scott Fox, who we saw loop around in turn 2 earlier this race. So lap car between the 2 drivers that will cycle out to be your race leader. As we have 16 minutes to go, down to the final 15 minutes. This race flew by. We're down to the last last 10 or so laps of this. See Berbagal up the inside. Going to be a bit of a touch there with the lap car as he muscles his way through the Klein chicane.
Yeah, just training paint there. Whoa, and Scott Fox though went flying over into Villeneuve. He actually spun around.
Car around right in front of the race leaders. That's the 99. Il Orza. He's going to get back rolling as Gaspers comes on through. However, Berbagal is right there now. So all that advantage that Gaspers had is gone.
And Madden now into the pits, so he's going to surrender the lead, and so has Mauricio Naselli. He's also made a trip, and Felix Simoes. So a lot of our leaders now are starting to come into the pits. I think you're approaching pretty closely to the limit of fuel that they have in the tank.
Checking back in on Spec 2. Current leader in Spec 2 is still Greg Stefani in the 750 car. He has not yet hit pit lane. The next driver on that list is going to be all the way down in 22nd. That's Paul Jackson's 2:49. Through the final chicane here with 10 laps to go just about for the race leaders. Jaspers, Berbegal going to be the ones that cycle out, but where is the 44 and where's the 8? Jonathan Madden already leaving pit road. See if he can cycle out.
And Nucelli spent quite a bit of time on pit road. He almost got past with Felix Simoes. You can see him right there and behind. And the leader is actually going to get out by quite a bit, it seems, in comparison to Madden. Actually, Madden's the one that beats him off.
He'll cycle back out in front of David Jaspers. He was the leader coming into this sequence.
But man, looking at back in Nucelli, lost a huge amount of time sitting in his pit stall. He's completely fallen back from Berbegal, Jaspers, and Madden.
Now the lap traffic begins to see a bunch of cars up the road. Here's Berbegal up the inside of the one of Jaspers into the Klein chicane. Now tucks back in. How do you get greedy over the curbs here? Too much. It's going to send you around for a loop. Spec 2 race leader Greg Stefani is into pit lane in the 750.
Meanwhile, for the lead, Berbegal looking to be pretty aggressive back again, where these guys are going to essentially pick off back where they left off when they were fighting. I can't imagine that's going to die down anymore as the time starts to tick slower and slower to zero.
I guess Waddell into pit lane from the lead. Michael Doback looks like he's going to come in as well in the 142 car. See where Waddell pops out. He was a couple seconds back prior to the pit stop sequence.
These guys will push it on pit lane, but there's no pit limiter in these cars, so it's all manual on the throttle.
Yeah, I also enjoy the fact that they put curbs entering pit lane because they know drivers are trying to push into the pit lane, and it really helps if you can push hard and you can make up a few tenths of a second. That can mean all the difference.
I'm always in favor of putting curbs in places. I was going to stall them at the end of my driveway so I could jump a curb before I pull in for the day. Into turn number 1. One car left, that's Zorek in the 82. Still the last one on the racetrack that has not pit, that is in front of the leaders that will cycle out. It's going to be a 3-horse race in the final 13 minutes or so. No other intensely close battles to the rest of the field, sort of spread out in between. Spec 2 right now looks like it's led by Paul Jackson in the 249. The last driver of that category not to pit, though, so he will drop out back behind Greg Stefani in the 750. To the Klein chicane, leaders. Big jump there from Jonathan Madden. He has really showed up to play today, though, and did not lean over for David Jaspers. Really was willing to fight for it, and he got it. Also, Lonby and Jaspers has sort of been stuck there since.
Yeah, we haven't seen Madden for quite a while. He only ran at Okayama and Interlagos. We haven't seen him in the last 3 weeks, but he's back and pretty much back where he left off, finished third at Okayama, and now looking to potentially win this race. We could hold off Jaspers and Berbegal in behind.
Back in a little bit deeper in the field, the 299 of Tom Gradwell's got Dominique Bureau behind him, but I do want to stay focused on this lead battle because we're going to see a lot of shuffling here as Gasper's got a really poor run out of turn 8. Berbegal's sitting in behind him, and this is a bad place on the racetrack to try to grab the lead away because you're fling through this final chicane so quickly. Any side-by-side action is going to be discouraged. A bit of a push there through the chicane, Steve. Is that something that's going to be unsettling the race car, or is that an okay place to have a hit?
Oh yeah, you touch somebody in the middle of that chicane and it really upsets the rear end of the car.
Jonathan Madden on the tailpipes of some of the lap traffic. That's the 286 car. Dory Cox. It looks like he's through. Jasper's going to have to pinch off the exit at turn 2, though, to get on back.
These cars are pretty tail-happy, as you know, but Jaspers is one of the best at car control in this series.
A lot of that oversteer comes on corner entry as well, the off-throttle oversteer that these cars are so famous for. As soon as you get back on power, it stabilizes the car, Finian, but you lift off, you turn in, that car is really going to want to step out on you.
Yeah, and he was talking about him having car control. He used quite a bit of it out of turn 8. That's why he lost so much time. He got a little bit sideways, but was able to keep the car straight. And now trying to chase down John Madden. Madden had a bit of a lead for second, but he's not letting Madden out of his sights.
Paul Jackson going to hit pit lane in the 249. He was the Spec 2 race leader. That will turn it back over to Greg Stefani in the 750, who has just had an excellent last couple of weeks in relation to the other cars in his class. So Stefani continues to lead. Miro Razki still second in that class, and Simon Mayer back in third. Despite the bumps and bruises, he got that car repaired and is sitting on the last step of the podium for Spec 2. Zoric in the 82, I think he's also coming to pit lane, so that will turn the lead back over to John Madden in the 8 car. With 10 minutes to go, down to the last 8 or so laps. Now it's a 3-horse race still. Emil Orza.
No, Madden's gonna get into the timer as he tries to pass a lap, goes flying upside down on the front straightaway.
Well, that was fast. That was the quickest crash I think I've ever seen. Where I didn't even have time to react to that before he'd reset the car, but Jonathan Madden, the race leader following a lap car, immediately tries to go on by, gets put in the gravel and slams the barrier and roll hoop first into the concrete, back across the track. The 286 squeezed on by, but oh my goodness, the guy that had led the majority of this race squeezed out at the last moment here, and wow, what a hit.
Yeah, I saw him come in the lap car. I'm like, okay, what's he gonna do? And I saw him try to pull up to the left. I was like, uh-oh, that can't end well.
No,
unfortunately, it didn't.
That was a mistake on Madden's part there. I don't think it was smart to look drivers left of this car. I would have just gone to the right here, Finian, because that was really the only place. He was off the racetrack, and that was a silly mistake on Madden's part. He was leading the race, could have won it, but just went for a gap that was never going to open, and just ended up putting him in the pits.
Yeah, he just wasn't willing to brake. I think he was trying to carry the momentum to use it past the lap car.
Leaders banging doors as there's a car around in the second chicane, that's Villeneuve chicane. They were slamming doors as they came down into the chicane, and I'm not sure that Berbigal's thrilled about it. He's leading the bumper on him again.
And Berbigal got the lead in the first place after Gaspers had a checkup for Madden, and now this is what kind of kicked off this next series of battles. These guys constantly hitting each other, and again, we have to bring to point the 12 incident limit, so you start getting penalties, and oh man,
they're banging sides as they head down the back straightaway here. They are not thrilled with each other, giving each other very little space. Now they're going to run side by side through the chicane. 8 minutes to go, battling for the lead. Gaspers and Berbigal, they touch again at the final corner.
Naselli's actually loving this in behind because he's actually caught up from all the chaos that's happened ahead. He's made up about a second or two on these guys trying to chase them back down. Again, he always finds a way to appear near the front at the end of these races, and he's kind of hoping these two guys take each other up so you can take the lead.
Elbows out and bumpers forward as they run into each other over and over again, but Berbigal's got the lead now. Gasper's going to have to try to fight back. Damage to the left side of that car and damage to the fenders on the 23, but it's not over yet. You see behind the 44 is Felix Simoes in the 31, so those two not too far out of this either, so they can draft up, work together, and run down these front two, especially with them banging together like that.
Yeah, I'm sure they both see what's going on ahead. I'm sure Simoes is going to just sit on behind and let Naselli kind of charge back up to get them. Yeah, at the rate that they're going, they should be getting there sometime soon. They're starting to run out of time, though, but the way these guys are battling up ahead, it's going to be pretty close.
How frustrating is that, Steve, to be running for the lead and you're banging with the driver next to you? Is that frustrating for you, or is that just part of the game and you think about it later?
Oh, it gets frustrating in the moment, and you get a little bit of that red mist, and so like I said, sometimes you got to take a deep breath and back off a second and then come back and be a little smarter later. But these guys just keep going at it.
Here comes the one around the outside in turn number 8. The 23 going to stay driver's right as they head through the kink back to the left and back to the right, side by side again towards the final chicane. We'll see if they crowd each other on the racetrack once more. Naselli has dropped back behind Simoes. A mistake or a slowdown for him has taken him out of the fight for third. Through the final chicane, another touch.
That could have been bad for Berbigal. He almost went flying off the track, but is just going to lose momentum and settle in behind Gaspers.
Race is on. 6 minutes to go. Now 20 laps complete of the 24 that we have estimated here. Big jump over the curb for the 23. Larry McLeod's had an issue in the 33 car back in 19th. We're not going to pull away, though. We're going to stay focused up front as we head through turn number 2.
Yeah, an update on what happened to Sally. Just made a mistake in Villeneuve. It was just poor entry and then ended up going off the track, so that's why he lost some time. You see Berbigal trying to get a run on Gaspers again through turn 4.
Yeah, he's right there as well, and it's the slightest of mistakes can bring these cars together. He's way out in the gravel at the exit of turn 4. Going to sling the car back on, but he's got gravel all up inside that car now, just trying to carry speed and did not lift, Steve, as he came through 4.
No, you get off the track and get a little bit of traction, keep your foot in it, and get back on. That's all you can do.
Look who's coming. Felix Simoes in the 31, tracking them down. Last time by was a full 8/10 better than Rafael Berbigal in the 23.
I just realized, too, what I said with Naselli. This is going to be the first time he got an incident in the season, so he's going to be getting those 5 bonus points.
Oh, there you go.
I'm sad. That makes me really sad. I was hoping he could go the whole season. He made it 6 races in. We're almost halfway through. Jaspers has the lead now with 5 minutes to go. Jaspers and Naselli both have 2 race wins this season. They were trading blows the first couple rounds, but now Burbagal wants one. He's right behind the 1 car. Taking a look to driver's left. 5 minutes to go, and the race is on.
I don't see the race has been on the way these two guys have been driving.
Looks like some Saturday night short track racing here.
Yeah, if it's on anymore they've been doing, they're going to both go flying off the track. See Burbagal, an aggressive move to the inside on the front straight. He's going to take the lead in turn 1.
Yeah, he's got it. He cleared Gaspers. Gasper going to look driver's left here, but next 2 corners are rights. I can't imagine that you can carry enough momentum out there to hang on, but he's going to give it a try. Going to pinch the 23 down.
Definitely one of the more physical races we've had.
Physical's an understatement. I think they're about to fight each other NASCAR style when they get out of this. Through turn 4, the 31 going to try to run the 1 car a little bit wide. He's going to leave him just enough space. They touch again as Gaspers gets sideways at the exit of the corner, tucks back in for a slipstream.
And speaking of the slipstream, guess who's just kind of in there? It's Felix Samoza in behind the 31. He's pretty much there.
And now Gaspers has the driver behind to worry about. He can't just attack relentlessly. Angus Waddell in the 53. He's coming back out from pit lane. I don't think he had made a pit stop yet, so, or if he did, he just came in again. So some trouble there for the 53. Drops back to 16th place through the chicane. And these cars are beaten up, Steve. They've gotten all the corners on these things shortened up pretty good.
Yeah, they do. 53 could have been a drive-through penalty.
Ah, yes, that could be. Didn't stop in the box. So comes Gaspers on the left into turn 8. Long way around. If you can hang out here, you can have a good run through the chicane, but he's going to get run out a little bit wide. Will get cleared again by the time they hit the straight.
I'm curious if they realize that Samoza is getting closer to them. They seem to be kind of pretty absorbed with themselves at the moment.
Oh, here they go again. Side by side, they're going to touch again through the chicane. 3 minutes to go. This time will be 3 laps to go. Here comes Samoza with a massive run up on the front straightaway. Going to take it to the right of the 1 car of Gaspers and sling to the right of Burbagal as well. Here comes the 3rd place car into 1. The 1 car chucks it down the inside, misses the curb, and now they're going to run side by side towards turn number 2.
Well, if they didn't know that Samoza's catching him, well, they definitely know now. He got a massive run to that final corner. That just kind of shows them how much time they were giving.
Oh, Gaspers is off!
Running side by side.
Gaspers is way off at the exit of turn number 2, and he'll try to corral that car back on course, but he'll drop another spot, and there's the Naselli that goes through. So now it's a 2-horse race up front.
And Gaspers finds himself in 4th place. If he finishes in 4th, it'll be the 3rd week in a row he's finished in 4th place outside the podium.
Race up front now. 2 laps to go. Should be next time by. Might actually just be 1 lap to go next time by. Check where the clock is when they come out of the final corner, but Felix Samoza with no damage, not a scratch on that car, chasing down the very dented and bruised 23.
So you have to see here, because I don't think Samoza has been fighting too much with Burbagal. Burbagal's been pretty aggressive, and he's pretty much got the lead. He's so close.
Oh, look at the slide! Look at all the oversteer on that car as he exits the corner. Was just wrestling that fucking machine as they came out of turn number 7. Now the run down to 8. Samoza's going to look to driver's right. Here they come. Side by side. The 23 trying to go defensive. Can't get there. Going to drag race into the corner. Samoza's going to take the lead through turn number 8.
Not sure that was the right move, though, because there comes Burbagal. Great exit out of the corner. Samoza's going to try to crowd him off the track.
He's going to have the run here into the chicane. Oh, they're definitely going to run side by side here as they enter. It'll be white flag this time by slip and slide. Back to the lead goes the 23.
And Samoza's backed out at the last second here. White flag in the air. This is the final lap for these drivers. Curious to see what Samoza's got in store.
Drag race to turn number 1. A big block by the 23. A touch. The 31 follows the 23 into turn 1. He's going to have a great crossover move here if he can carry the momentum back to the right as they head for turn number 2. 23, 31. Can they get back to the line? They got 4 kilometers left to sort this out.
And in behind them, 2 Gaspers actually just caught up and got past Naselli for 3rd place. And these guys are kind of waiting in the wings, 1.2 seconds behind our leaders.
Now to turn number 4. Burbagal trying to carry as much speed. A bit of understeer by the 31 of Samoza. Gravel flying up the rear tires of the 23. Lap traffic ahead. The 31's got a great run, but is it going to be enough to get there by the time they get to the Klein chicane? He's got overlap. He's going to back out, try again later. Big curb strike for the 23 car.
Yeah, dude, almost went in just a little bit too hot. He just backed off enough and hurt his exit, though. Here comes Samosa with another good run into Villeneuve, going to go on the left side.
Here he coming to the braking zone. Side by side, Burbagal's going to enter. Big curb jump for both of them as they head on through. Only a couple of corners left. Half a lap remains. Samoes to the right. Here they come. Through turn number 6. Side by side. Another touch. A rub. They come through the final corners here. As the white flag is out officially. Burbagal, Samoes, side by side, banging doors. Gasper's not too far back. Turn number 8. Samoes has driver's right.
We saw this happen last time with Burbagal. A great run out of the final corner. Where to go on exit, though. He missed the shift.
A shift missed by the 23. Couldn't get it in gear. Felix Samoes in the 31. After running in 3rd for the majority of the race, he started 7th. Got through the 23, wrestled his way by, checkered flag in the air for Felix Samoes. He's going to win at Circuit Zolder. And the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors.
The wall into the final corner. He goes flying across the track. Damage car Naselli is going to steal the final step on the podium. Gasper's going to try to limp that car back home.
Disaster for Gaspers in the closing moments of this race. Comes across the line in 4th. But that is not the way that he wanted this race to go. But what a battle at the front of the field. 0.2 of a second, the margin of victory for Felix Samoes. What a job he did. Spec 2 race winner is going to be Greg Stefani in the 750. Again this week, all by himself. The next Spec 2 driver, Miro Razki, in the 205. But Samoes and Burbagal put on a show at the end of that race. Wow.
Yeah, fantastic job, and congrats to him on his second win in a row after winning last week at Donington. So 2 wins to his name this season.
I'm going to go back and have a look here at what happened to Gaspers. I don't know what happened to set that one car off in the gravel here, but a look. They came through the final corner. He was behind the 23. Was it just a slip?
Just pushed too hard. It was trying to get too much of a run on Burbagal and went flying into the tire barrier.
That was just a big mistake on Gaspers' part. He only lost 1 spot, but can't imagine that was a good feeling and the race like that.
And also want to point out too, how about Rodrigo Duran? He managed to get back. He almost actually got past Gaspers as he was coming through the final set of corner. Managed to get back at top 5 after bidding earlier in the chicane in the race.
Here's a look at the race results. Felix Samoes, first place by 0.2 of a second. And having a look at his race here, he led 1 lap, Finney, and it was the last one. That is amazing.
Yeah.
To come on through, he started 7th, ran all the way up to the leaders, fought and kind of pushed his way through Rafael Burbagal, who in this race led 6 laps. He comes home in 2nd. Rizio Naselli in 3rd in the 44. David Gaspers 4th. Rodrigo Duran snuck out a 5th place. Didn't lead any laps, but had a pretty good event, all things considered. Started 5th, finished 5th. Lawrence Arabian in 6th. Daniel Sadro, Michael Dobeck, Ian Haycox, Austin Winter, the rest of your top 10, and we'll run down the rest of the order. There's Greg Stefani in the 750, Miro Razki and Simon Mayer. That's your podium in Spec 2. Moving on now to 21st on back. Paul Jackson, the 249, was up front in Spec 2 for a while, had to hit pit lane, up finishing in 27th overall. Well, that was something. That was a race. I think we saw enough for a couple weeks, but we're going to head to Lime Rock Park next week and do it all over again. In just a moment, we're going to get to talk to our race winner, Felix Samoes, and get to talk about that chaotic last couple moments. And we'll do all that in just a minute. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back live to SYM TV and the SRF Weekend Warriors Championship, brought to you by 42 Stitches. Here with our race winner, Felix Samoes, in the 31 car. Pushing and shoving, elbows out racing there the last couple laps, Felix. Take us through the epic battle you had there with Rafael. You saw him and Gaspers fighting together, drove up in there after starting in 7th. Walk us through those closing laps and wrestling for the lead.
Yeah, I noticed I was gaining on them. I had Maurizio in front of me in the last few laps, and then Maurizio had, I think he lost control of the chicane. And then I noticed that the Rafael and David, they were fighting, which means they were losing time for me. Not only I was fast, so I catch them easily, and yeah, as soon as I could, I just went for it first for David, and then I played it so that I could do the move I did on Rafael. I had it already planned, so make him go out of line on the second chicane and then cut and go inside. I practiced that move during the week, to be honest. Several races. It was pretty cool.
Well, the practice paid off. A really good race this week at Zolder, but next week we head back to the United States to Lime Rock Park. That is going to be very, very congested. How do you think that week's going to go, and are you looking forward to that race?
I really like the Spec racer in Lime Rock, especially the classic one without the chicanes. But yeah, it's a small track with so many cars on it. Let's see how it goes. Yeah.
All right, Felix.
I like it. I'm looking for it.
Thank you so much for joining us, Felix. Congratulations. What an epic battle. We'll look forward to seeing you next week at Lime Rock.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good work. Bye-bye.
All right, and we're going to wait and see if we can get anybody else here in the booth before we sign off for the day, but we'll run through the race results here one last time. But Fenia, what an epic battle we saw, and it looked like a lot of fun. I think the 23 and 1 probably are a little bit upset with each other, but I think the 31 and the 23 had a pretty fair fight there at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. This guy is a great, respectful fight. Could have been a lot worse, but it's close enough to the point they weren't taking each other out and straight up racing, and great driving, really, from both of them, even for Berbergal as well. He did a great job battling throughout this entire race, trying to keep himself up in the front.
I want to take us back, and while we're waiting here, we can watch a replay of the final lap here. Here's the 31, a big run on the 23, and they just carried this through, and you see the 31 going to go back to the left here. And Gasper's, they had actually tracked back down those front two, and they weren't that far away from catching them again. I wonder if that could have happened with a bit more argy-bargy up front, and if the 44 and 1 had worked together a little bit. But, of course, we saw how it ended for Gasper's, back to 4th, but just an epic fight at the end.
Yeah, this track led to some really, really good racing with this car. These guys going side by side through several sections of track.
And in the chicanes here, and saw a big curb hop by the 23, and I think he took a little bit too much for his own good there. Slowed himself down, and then Felix going to cross over to the left here, sees the hole open. They run into the braking zone. I don't think they touched here, but he lets Berbergal go, takes a chunk of curb, and sets up for the exit. I think that's what's important, is we got the replay resetting here. But the run back to the line was also fun to watch, but into turn number 8, he had drivers right, and I think this was the important thing. And then the 23 missing the shift is what did him in.
Yeah, because we saw the last lap, they were in a similar position where you see right there, just couldn't get the shift done in time, lost a lot of momentum, and that pretty much sealed the deal right there.
It looks like we've got our Spec 2 race winner, Greg Stefani, so let's pull him in and have a chat real quick before we close this out for the day. We got Greg Stefani here, Spec 2 race winner. Greg, today, a pretty standard day. Up front, there was a wild battle for the lead in Spec 1, but you came home, got yourself another race victory. Take us through your afternoon.
Yeah, the first half of the race, I wouldn't have known that it was an exciting race. I was in a bit of a bubble about 8 seconds long, but then I think just before the pit stops, I got into a bit of a battle with Jerry that lasted most of the rest of the race. So that was a pretty good time the last half.
Got pretty physical out there for most of the field. We head to a track that's a lot smaller. It's basically a race car blender next week at Lime Rock. How do you approach that? I mean, obviously it's been, the Spec 2 race cars have been mostly kind of 13th to 20th overall, so you can be right in the thick of it next week. Are you going to approach that any differently than this week, or are you doing the same thing?
My approach is going to be the same as this week. Honestly, I'm not. I need to go back and look at the replays because it felt like I was going to get rear-ended a few times on that first lap. But yeah, hopefully stay clean this race. Hopefully stay clean next race.
All right, Greg. Thanks for talking to us. Good luck next week. All right, I think that's going to wrap things up this afternoon here. And of course, we want to thank everything that was brought to you today was brought to you by 42 Stitches. Of course, they allow us to be here and put on a show. That was certainly the show of the drivers up out front. But of course, 42 Stitches, embroidery, custom embroidery, whether it's one piece for that special gift or 1,000 to make your organization stand out, 42 Stitches has you covered. Custom embroidery and heat transfer on a wide variety of items, shirts, hats, jackets, even flame retardant applications where safety is a concern. You can check them out at 42stitches.com or shoot them an email to info@42stitches.com to get your project started. You can also visit the link in the video. Thank you so much for joining us here this afternoon. And Steve, your final thoughts before we head to Lime Rock next week.
Wow, what a battle this track provided today, and puts more cars. I expect 60 plus at Lime Rock next week, and in that bull ring, we're going to have another physical battle.
Benny, we saw a pretty epic fight there, but Lime Rock Park, that's a tight one. We've seen 60 cars do it successfully. Think back to Grid Life. They ran 60 Miatas around there and didn't tear everybody up. Your thoughts on next week at Lime Rock?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting again to see such a fairly small track and handle so many race cars. And I think it's going to be a problem. Really, we might see a problem if, just being so many cars. There's going to be constant amount of traffic for these guys to get there. And I think that's definitely going to play a factor for our leaders.
All right, that's going to do it for us this afternoon. Thanks for joining us for the Sunday afternoon matinee here on SYM TV. We'll see you on Tuesday night, 9 p.m. for the Fuel Mission 22 Premiere Series. They'll be headed to Daytona at 8:50 p.m. right here on SYM TV. We'll see you there. Have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll see you on Tuesday.